By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are in France, Lyon to be precise, for the Lyon Trophy. And this is a 7-points Singleton tournament. And what does that mean? It means we're playing Singleton, so only one card of each. And also we're playing according to the 7 points rules. So that means when you're building your deck, there are specific cards with points allocated to them. And you cannot spend more than 7 points when building your deck. And here you can see that points list. So it's a little bit more challenging to build your Singleton deck. And the aim, of course, of a points list is to create more creativity and more diversity. And today we've got two really cool and diverse decks. This is a round one match and we have Gilles versus Damien. Gilles is playing a blue and green deck. I've called it blue-green flyers, which is not really blue-green flyers, but I just wanted to give it a name. It has a lot of strong flyers in there. And he is taking on Damien. Damien is playing a red-black mid-range deck. Lots of burn, lots of removal. And one of the things I like about Singleton is that you can really see what each color is good at because of that Singleton, right? You've got to be very creative. You've got to go deeper into the card pool. So, for example, red is good, of course, in direct damage, but you cannot just put 4 bolts in your deck. You can only put 1 bolt in your deck. So what else are you going to put in there? So it's quite interesting to see the choices that the players make. Now, I've got, of course, lovely deck photos of both of these decks. But before I jump into the deck, first a quick message from the sponsor of this video, 3-for-1 Trading. 3-for-1 Trading is one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. Their online shop has a fantastic selection of high-end Magic cards, especially for vintage, legacy, and yes, old school Magic players. They now exclusively offer my community free, fully insured and fast worldwide shipping on all their high-end singles, full sets, and out-of-print sealed products. They upload new cards every Wednesday and have weekly sale offers and reductions waiting just for you. Use my code TIMMY to get free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Have fun ordering those cards, and thank you 3-for-1 Trading for sponsoring this video. And we are back and ready to dive into the deck decks, and I'm going to start with the player on the top, that is Damien. Let's take a look at his black-red deck. And here we see the deck of Damien. So I mean, this really shows the diversity and the strength of the colors of red and black, right? This basically has the best creatures of red and black, the best removal of red and black. And maybe just to start with that removal, I think red and black is really good in kind of getting rid of creatures, also dealing direct damage, of course. So what we see here is we see a Royal Assassin, which is really strong. Because remember, in Singleton, you don't have as much answers as in a regular format, making these 1/1 utility creatures better. You see that here, right? You see Royal, but you also see Hell's Caretaker. But I first want to focus kind of the removal side of this deck. So we have Royal Assassin, but we also just have a lot of spells that can take care of problems. We've got Terror, we've got Lightning Bolt, we've got Chain Lightning, we've got Falling Star. That's a great card because it can take care of multiple threats. We also see Fissure. I think Fissure is very, very useful and really has a place in Singleton. I think in Singleton's quite a good card. 2 red and 3 for an instant from the dark, and it can bury target creature, meaning it cannot regenerate, or destroy target land. So it has this double mode, kind of the red disenchant, but then of course a lot more expensive to cast. 5 is pretty steep, but still I think it's a really good card. I also would have included it here in the deck. Another good removal card I think in Singleton is Oubliette. You see that here as well. Oubliette, the card again, you don't see as much in regular old school because you just, you can play 4 of each, so there are just better options than Oubliette. But I think in a format where you play Singleton, you don't have that many answers to enchantments, making Oubliette really a good removal spell. And what I like about Oubliette is that it can also take care of artifact creatures and black creatures, which is something that usually black really struggles with, but Oubliette kind of helps you out there. Another cool synergistic point here in the deck is that between Thonis's Coffin, which is also removal, I guess, but Damien can also use it to get extra counters on his Triskelion or his Tetravus, and that is because what you can do with Thonis's Coffin is you can pay 3 and tap it and put target creature in the coffin. It phases out, and then when you untap your coffin, it comes back into play. And the cool thing is when it comes back into play, you have all the enter the battlefield triggers again. So if your Triskelion comes back into play, it gets an additional 3 counters. The cool thing as well is when you put it in the coffin, it takes the counters with it, so the counters don't get lost. So when you untap the coffin again, it comes back as a 4/4, but then with 3 additional counters as well. So now it's a 7/7 with 6 +1/+1 counters. That is just absolutely brutal. So I think Thonis's Coffin can be really, really good. And then we also have a lot of beaters here in the deck, a lot of strong creatures. You've got Sengir Vampire, beautiful Jusum Jin, lots of flying creatures here as well, by the way. We've got Shivan Dragon, we've got Dragon Whelp, of course we've got a Hypnotic Spectre, so just a lot of strong creatures. Then we also see a little bit of synergy here in the deck between Nevinyrral's Disc and, for example, a Sedge Troll, because you can of course regenerate Sedge Troll. We also see an Animate Dead here in the deck, so Animate Dead and Nevinyrral's Disc, also kind of a combo, right? So we see some little synergies in the deck, not too much. You know, I guess it's kind of hard to play like full-on combo strategy in Singleton, but it's always nice to see synergies. I love, you know, little combos that are in decks that they can kind of come up as surprises. And of course, you're playing with Demonic Tutor, meaning that those silver bullets are a little bit easier to get when you're playing the color black. But yeah, it's looking like a very strong deck, Damien, so I'm looking forward to see your deck in action. And maybe one last creature I would like to highlight is Hell's Caretaker. Hell's Caretaker is also one of those creatures that I kind of love to mess around with, to tweak around with, to see what can I do, what can't I do. And usually it's just not good enough. It doesn't make the cut. But I think in Singleton it can have a home. I also like what you're doing here with Hell's Caretaker in combination with Tetravis, because what you can do, for example, with Tetravis, you can take counters off the Tetravis to make little 1/1 flyers. You can sack those flyers to the Hell's Caretaker to maybe get a better creature back from the yard, or maybe even get the Tetravis back from the yard and make more 1/1 flyers again. So just a lot of, you know, little tricks in this deck, and I'm looking forward to see them in action. And here we see the deck of Gilles. So I've called it blue-green flyers because there are a lot of flyers, mainly in blue, in the blue section of the deck. We see Surrender Befreed, we see Phantom Monster, we see Ghost Ship, we see Azure Drake. Love the flavor text of Azure Drake, by the way. We also see Serendip Jin. Serendip Jin, what a bad boy. 4 mana for a 5/6. Yes, you've got to sack some lands, but who cares? Look at this bad boy. It's so cool to have this creature on your side and not on your opponent's side. And then we see Air Elemental, Mahamoti Jin. So just a lot of flying creatures. There are, of course, some ground creatures in the deck as well. We see, for example, Lurker, which I think is a really interesting addition. Love the art of Lurker. What a scary creature. And the interesting thing, or the challenging thing, I think, is when you're playing these two colors, is it's harder to just get rid of a problem, right? You don't have a terror kind of card. You don't have a Fisher kind of card. So it takes a little bit more effort, but you can definitely counter things away. We see that here with Power Sink and Counterspell. You can also deal some damage to flying creatures, right? We see a Hurricane, but we also see an If Biff Freed. We also see a Winter Blast in the deck. So there are some ways to get rid of flying creatures, and of course to tap down flying creatures. Another really cool card I think in this deck is Siren Skull. Siren Skull is a card that I think is a little bit overlooked in a lot of formats, and it's nice to see it here in the Singleton deck. Siren Skull forces your opponent to attack with everything they have, right? So it's kind of a creature removal spell as well. And for example, let's say you got to play against the Royal Assassin that's actually in Damien's deck. It's really tough to get rid of the Royal with this deck, right? Yes, you've got a Chaos Orb and you've got a Desert Twister, but it takes long. You got to draw those cards. It's really tough. But with Siren Skull, you can force Damien to attack with all the creatures, including the Royal. If he doesn't, the Royal gets destroyed. So he has to attack with the Royal. Then you can just simply block the Royal on, let's say your Spitting Slug, kill it, and then the next turn you can start attacking with everything. So I think Siren Skull is a really cool inclusion in this deck, and it's one of the cards that I'm looking out for. Always when I see a deck photo, there are always a few creatures, I'm like, ooh, or a few spells. I'm like, oh, I really would love to see those spells or creatures. And in this deck, I would love to see, the Serendip Jin, but also the Siren Skull. I think those two cards are cards that I'm actually looking forward to. Talking about that, we've looked at the deck here of Gilles. We've looked at the deck of Damien. That means we are ready. Let's go to the round number 1 match played in France, Lyon, at the 7-point Singleton Trophy. Here we go. Game number 1 of Lyon's Trophy is about to begin here. And at the top we have Damien. He's playing a red and black deck. And he's taking on Gilles, who's playing a blue and green. You can see there, this is his opening hand. I've called it blue-green flyers. And Damien here on the play, starting with a mountain. Now remember, we are playing Singleton today, and I'm looking forward to that, because it means we're going to see a lot of different cards. And a lot of cards we probably don't see as often in regular old school. And here we see the first spell being cast. There's a Felwar Stone. That's, of course, a card we know all too well. It cannot make any mana, by the way, at the moment because of that Mishra's Factory on the side of Gilles. There we see a Forest here. Could animate it here to attack. Nice stamp there by the Berlin Playgroup. Could animate it, swing in for 2. I don't think he has to worry all too much. Exactly, just animate or play something out, of course. Attacking here for 2, so putting Damien on 17. And let's see what he can do. Can he find a creature here? Can now make mana with the Flower Stone, can make a forest. And of course, with the City of Brass, can make any color of mana, so that means he also can produce black mana. He's going to tap 3 here, taking another damage, dropping to 16. And okay, there's the Granite Gargoyle, the 2/2 flyer. And for 1 red, you can give it +0/+1. Has a really cool flavor text, by the way. And there we see an island here for Gilles. Let's see what he can do. Going to tap a green. Okay, there's the Elves of Deep Shadow. So you can tap it for a black and then you take a damage. So a little bit of mana ramping and just a pass here. So no attack with the 2/2 Factory Worker. Gilles could have, for example, offered to trade the Gargoyle for the Factory Worker. Not sure if that would have been a good deal, by the way, because then you lose a land. So probably this is the better option here for Gilles, just to pass. But not a great turn for him. There's the attack with the 2/2 flyer, and Gilles not having any flying creatures drops here to 18. Second main of Damien. Let's see what he can do. Going to tap 4, and okay, there's an Icy Manipulator. For a moment there, I thought, are we going to see Juzam Jin, which is also in the deck of Damien? But nope, we're going to get to see the Icy Manipulator artifact. Pay 1 and tap, and then it can tap target land, artifact, or creature. There we see a second island for Gilles. So that's got a lot of stamped lands there in the deck. Pretty cool. Adds some character. I like it. This is a stamp from Miami. And I wonder if Gilles is now also going to play out a flyer. Has, for example, a Ghost Ship in the deck, Azure Drake, and Phantom Monster, all flying creatures from blue that are costing 4 to cast. But we're seeing a 3-drop here, Serendip Efreet, 3/4 flyer, deals a damage to you during your upkeep. And this doesn't have to be too bad, actually, for Damien, because you can just tap down. Ooh, he's going to produce a black mana here. You can just tap down the Serendip. Okay, he's going to animate the factory attack for 2. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, of course. And look at Damien's life total, by the way. It's pretty low. He's on 13 already. Has to be a little bit mindful about his life here. Of course, doesn't have to worry about direct damage because Gilles is playing with the colors blue and green, so you don't have to worry about a fireball. Although I'm saying that now, but also thinking he is playing with Hurricane, he is playing with If Biff Efreet, so has some options to deal some direct damage. And I would be surprised if I would see Damien attack here. Okay, there we see a Sengir Vampire, 4/4 flyer. That's a perfect blocker for the Serendip here. That's pretty sweet. Going to pass the turn. Another damage here for Gilles. Going to drop to 16. 12 in total here for Damien. And I mean, which is a pretty big if, but if Gilles can find a solution. Oh, this is really good. Steal artifact, stealing the Icy Manipulator. What I wanted to say is if he can find a solution for the 4/4 flyer, then he can start attacking with the 3/4. But this is probably better. We do see a detonate there in hand by Damien, by the way. So Damien can now detonate his own Icy. And that would really help him out and would deal 4 damage to Gilles as well, who's on 16. I mean, it's not great. You don't want to kill your own Icy, but I think in this case you kind of have to, unless he's got a better option. And of course, we do see that Gilles still has the Elves of Deep Shadow untapped, so could use that in response to a detonate to tap down the Sengir. Let's first see what he can do. Oh, there's a Chaos Orb. Okay, that's a better option. Can then flip on the Steel Artifact, and I guess that's what he's going to do. In response, we see Gilles here using the Icy to tap down the Sengir Vampire. Yeah, this flip is pretty important. Going to flip here on the Steel Artifact. This is a pretty big deal. Nice position. Oh, beautiful flip. Well done. Really nice angle also to see the flip. This is perfect. So Icy coming back. Sengir tap down. And I think, yeah, you want to pass here because you want to keep 2 red open. The City of Brass and the Mountain to pump up your Granite Gargoyle. If Gilles decides to attack. Gilles, you drop into 14, by the way, because of his own Serendip. And this is going to be an interesting turn. Yeah, he is going to attack here. There we see a terror though, so killing the Surrender Profiteer. Another damage taken by Damien, but yeah, Damien just has a lot of answers to problems. And that's a little bit more difficult for Gilles. Is he just going to pass here? I'm not sure. I mean, Gilles has to do something about the situation here, but question is, can he do that? I also believe he had a clone in his opening hand or not, because he could also consider to clone. Okay, look at this, going to do a regrowth, getting back the Steel Artifact, which is pretty sweet. Okay, there's a Chaos Orb of his own. This is the Proxy Chaos Orb. Proxies are allowed here in 7-point Singleton, so could use the Chaos Orb here to flip on, for example, the Sengir Vampire. Could, of course, wait with that as well until Damien's turn. But I kind of agree with doing it in your own main, because now Damien is tapped out. So, for example, if Damien has a Shatter, you let him untap with the Shatter, he can Shatter your Chaos Orb in response. But let's take a look here at this flip. So Gilles is going to flip here. Oh, it's a miss. Wow, that went everywhere. Did hit the Sengir, but it bumped off, bounced off. It was like it was hitting a skippy bowl there. And this is bad news for Gilles. He's on 13 now. He's going to take at least one hit of 4 here. At least you would expect. An attack for 6 even. Look at this. So he's going to drop to 7. Okay, to 8, I guess. Yeah, I believe it was 7. Flower Stone being tapped here. And a red. Okay, there's Aeopile, so a card from Fallen Empires. You can pay 1 and tap it, sack it, deal 2 damage to any target. So this is a great answer to, for example, the Factory. Although the Factory can pump itself, but in response to the pump, you can then kill it. But just also a great card to deal 2 points of direct damage. I mean, look at the life total of Gilles, only on 7. Now, we do know, of course, that Gilles still has that Steel Artifact. So next turn, he's probably going to try to steal the Icy, but then in response, Damien can use his Icy. So that Gilles gets an untapped Icy that he cannot use in defense. So it's looking very bad, actually, for Gilles here. Has to try to find a way out of this, which I think is going to be really tough. Perhaps impossible even. And then, of course, you got to think of what if he would have hit the flip. You know, that would have made a big difference. That would have meant that the Sengir would have been gone. He would be on 11 instead of 7. And he would then now most likely just play out the Steel Artifact, steal the Icy, still having some time. But now when you're on 7, you have to deal with, well, at least the Sengir here. Yep, there's the Steel Artifact. This is not going to do much, though. It's going to steal the Icy. And Damien not using it in response. That really surprises me. I would have definitely just tapped, for example, the Elves of Deep Shadow down here in response. Okay, he's going to use the Aeopile, going to put him on 5. Remember, Damien also has the Detonate in hand. So could just detonate here the IC, deal another 4 damage, and then kill him. Yeah, look at this. Going to tap down the Sengir. Probably in response to, Damien wanting to combat, attacking for 2. And now we're probably going to see that Detonate. There's the Detonate, and there's the win here for Damien. So winning game number 1 here. And yes, it's looking very good for Damien. Now remember, we are playing 7-point Singleton, so we don't have a sideboard. So we're just going to shuffle up and continue straight on to game number 2. Game number 2, here we go. So it's Gilles, of course, on the player on the bottom there. We saw the opening hand of Damien. Here's the opening hand of Gilles there. Both players keeping their first 7. There's a Tropical Island and a pass. I saw that Wailuli Wolf there, so I'm expecting to see that next turn here. Let's see if Gilles is going to play it out. Damien starting with a basic Swamp, by the way. Here's Factory. There's the Wailuli Wolf, a 1/1 creature from Arabian Nights. You can tap it to give target creature +1/+1. And let's see what Damien can do in his turn too. Probably going to see a mountain here, exactly. Both cards are signed here, by the way, and there's just a pass. So could attack it for 3, but then, of course, you're taking the risk of maybe losing your Mishra's Factory. Probably wouldn't do it here. You can, of course, attack with the Wailuli Wolf. Just deal 1 point of damage. There's the attack. So Damien dropping to 19 and tapping 2 here for a follow-up play. There's the AO pile, another card we saw in the opening hand of Gilles. Of course, you'd much rather play out a threat, like for example this Random Defeat, but I guess it's not in hand here. And let's see if Damien can also start casting some spells. Has that Dragon Whelp in hand, but of course that's 4 to cast, 2 red and 2 black. Doesn't have that yet. So perhaps his hand is just a little bit slower here. Yeah, just passing the turn. So that's good news for Gilles. At least he can attack again with the wolf. And we see there that House Caretaker in hand there for Damien. 1/1 creature originally from Legends. This is the copy from Chronicles. Let's see what Gilles can do. He's first going to attack for 1, so that's 18 for Damien. Going to tap the City of Brass here. Going to take a damage. And okay, there's the Whirling Dervish, a 1/1 creature from Legends. Protection from black, which could be relevant in this matchup. And every time it attacks, it gets a 1/1 counter. Well, when it has dealt damage, I should say. So it then becomes a 2/2, a 3/3, and so forth. But of course, it has to be unblocked. And that could be a challenge. Okay, there we see a Strip Mine. Not a second red for the Dragon Whelp. Ooh, this could be a problem. Okay, we see a Falling Star. Oh, this is a big deal. Bad news here for Gilles. Falling Star, card from Legends. Kind of works the same as the Chaos Orb. You've got to flip it from 1 foot. And it's got to rotate fully. And then each creature it hits takes 3 damage. Oh, it's a miss. Oh, man. And he flipped so well. He flipped so well earlier, but now he just misses. Also decided to only flip on the Whirling Dervish. I wonder if there's an errata on the Falling Star in 7-point Singleton. Maybe you guys can let me know that you can only target 1 creature with the Falling Star. But it was a miss, and I'm a little bit surprised about that miss because the Chaos Orb hit was so good in that first game. But at least a little bit of luck here for Gilles. And now he can attack with both. And more importantly, he can also animate the factory because Damien is tapped out. But what I wanted to say is more importantly, he can attack with the Dervish and get a counter on it, making it a 2/2. That makes a big difference. But let's first see if he wants to do something in his first main. I would be really tempted to just swing in here for 4, right? Okay, just going to attack with both of the creatures. Probably means he's got something better to do with the mana in his second main. And now we see a counter being put on the Whirling Dervish, I assume. Should become a 2/2 here. There we see a Time Walk. Wow, this Time Walk is fantastic. Because then you can attack again with your Dervish, making it a 3/3. Wow. This is great here for Gilles. And again, you gotta wonder, what if? What if Damien would have hit the Whirling Dervish? Oh man, this is very good news for Gilles. Could now again, of course, animate the factory and swing in here then for 5. Let's see if he wants to do that, or if he's just going to pass, or just attack and then pass. We'll have to wait and see. It looks like Gilles is a little bit in the tank here. Going back to his hand again. 3 cards in hand here for the player, it seems. Or is it 2 cards? Really in the tank. Not sure if he wants to attack. Okay, so he is going to attack here. Not animating the factory, so I guess he's got another play to make in his second main. Going to attack you for 3. So Damien going to drop to 13. 18 life still for Gilles. And now goes into his second main. I really expect him then to use that factory mana to do something with it, or else he probably would have attacked here. He is going to go for wow, regrowth. Okay, not on the Time Walk. He's going to go for the land here. Interesting. Does that mean that he's got a very strong 4-drop in hand? You would expect him to go for Time Walk here, but decides to go for the land instead. That says a lot. And look at this. Damien, unable to find the second red, cannot play out that Dragon Whelp. Does he have a better option here? Could go for Hell's Caretaker, but that's just a 1/1 though. It's not going to do much on this board. Could, of course, block the Wailuli Wolf, I guess. But that's all it can do. And you're then, of course, tapping out as well. It's going to tap out 4. Okay, there we see the Jam Day Tome. Yeah, this is way too slow. Good news here for Gilles. Untap, upkeep, and draw. He's on 18. Damien on 13. He can swing in here for 4. Put him on 9. Okay, there's a land from the top. Always, you just got to land back with your regrowth. Then you find a land from the top. He's going to animate here. He's going to attack, it seems. There he goes. 2/2, 1/1. So that's a total of 6 damage coming in. Look at the life total of Damien. He's now on 7. Just a pass, though, for Gilles. So I really wonder why he got the Trop back instead of the Time Walk. And there we now finally see that Dragon Whelp. He found his second red, so he's able to cast a Dragon Whelp now. But it looks like it's too little too late. Or not. Okay, this is pretty good. There we see the Paralyzed Aniwaluli Wolf. Yeah, that's going to put Gilles in a bit of an annoying spot where he has to choose, do I want to untap my wolf or not? Okay, there's a boomerang. Oh, this boomerang is very useful. And he's going to go for the life total here, of course, of Damien. Drop to 5. I think game 2 is in the bag for Gilles. Untap, upkeep, and draw. He has 5 damage on the board. There he goes, winning game number 2. That means we've got a 1-1. I love 1-1s because it means we're going to get to see a game number 3, people. I love it. Game number 3, here we go. So who's going to win this match? First round match here at the Lyon Trophy, the 7-point Singleton tournament. Damien on the play, starting with a mountain. Passing the turn here to Gilles. Let's see what he can do in his first turn. There's a tropical island, tapping the island. Oh, into a Birds of Paradise. I love this. You know, you can see the birds living on that tropical island. Very flavorful in my opinion. There we see a Badlands. Ooh, Immolation, taking care of the birds. So no Bolt and Immolation this time. Card from Legends gives target creature +2/-2. So in this case, it's a perfect removal for the bird. And there's a turn 2 Sentinel Druid for Gilles. So Gilles really finding the creatures here. Sentinel Druid, card from Antiquities. Whenever the opponent plays an artifact, it gets a +1/+1 counter. There we see an Aeopile. Oh, it's going to get a counter. It's a 2/2. That is pretty sweet. And I mean, the Aeopile can still kill it next turn, but at least now Gilles can swing for 2. In his turn, so untap, upkeep, and draw here. So he can swing in for 2, put Damien on 18. There's a forest first. And I think that Gilles cannot complain about his draws here in the third game, right? Oh, look at this. Even a creature on turn 3 as well. So he went Birds of Paradise, Sentinel Druid, now a Spitting Slug. Spitting Slug is a 2/4. It's difficult to get rid of the Spitting Slug. One of the better creatures in the dark, in my opinion. Let's see if maybe Damien can find an answer. He has found a land. It's going to tap 2. No, take it back. I think I saw an Animate Dead there. Animate Dead, not going to do much. Could use it, of course, to take the Birds of Paradise if you really want some mana. I mean, it can make any color of mana, so it could be quite useful. We also see a Shatter there in hand, and I believe also a Hell's Caretaker that he just saw. But untapping again, also deciding to do something else. Just going to pass the turn here. Okay, so untap, upkeep, and draw. Deciding to keep the Animate Dead in hand and not use it to revive the Birds of Paradise. There we see a forest here for Gilles. There's the attack for 4. Yep, there's the activation of Aeopile, killing the Druid, but still 2 damage going to get through because of the Spitting Slug. So Damien going to drop here to 16. Now, I wonder if Gilles has a follow-up again. You know, he's played a creature now every single turn. Can he play a creature here in turn 4? I guess he cannot. Passing turn here to Damien. Damien finding a swamp there from the top. 2 swamps, a Badlands, and a mountain. Going to tap 4. There's the Hell's Caretaker. Again, not going to have a big impact here on the board. At least not now. Hell's Caretaker, a card that you can use in your upkeep. You can tap it, sack a creature to get target creature from your graveyard onto the battlefield. The problem here, of course, is that Damien has no creatures in his graveyard that he wants to get back with the Hell's Caretaker. So it's just a 1/1 here. There's an attack with a 2/4. Going to take the damage, makes sense. Dropping here to 14 already. But again, no cards being played out by Gilles. So really good news for Damien. I mean, he's played out a land, I guess. That's the Pendelhaven, but no spells cast. So Damien is kind of getting the time to bounce back here. There's the attack for 1. So Gilles dropping to 19. Second May now for Damien. Going to tap the black, it seems. Tap a red. Okay, there we see a Demonic Tutor. Okay. Demonic Tutor. Counterspell, though. Yep. Counterspell by Gilles. Taking care of the tutor. Now remember, he's playing Power Sink and Counterspell, I believe. Those are his counter cards in his deck. Don't think he's playing with a Spell Blast. I'm not 100% sure. There's the attack, by the way, with the Spitting Slug, putting Damien on 12. There's a Phantom Monster. More pressure here on the board. It's looking very good for Gilles here in Game 3. Who's going to win this round 1 match here? That's the big question, of course. The Phantom Monster, a 3/3 flyer, by the way. He's going to tap 4. There's a Gem Tome. Yeah, it's just so slow. He's going to take at least 5 more damage. Unless, of course, he wants to block the Spitting Slug with the Caretaker. I mean, do you really want to do that? Let's see what he does here. There's the attack for 5. You're just going to take the damage. Drop to 7. It's looking bad here for Damien. There's another island. What are we going to see here from Gilles? Can he put more pressure on the board? That would be perfect for him. He can. Look at this Serendip Djinn here on the battlefield. Oh, this is devastating for Damien. Devastating. 5/6 flyer. You have to sack a land every upkeep. If it's an island, you take 3 damage. If you cannot sack lands, it destroys itself. But who cares? Because look at the life total of Damien. He's only on 7. Has to have an answer here for the 5/6 flyer. Has to do something. Perhaps animate Dead Birds of Paradise to chump. Okay, Fisher in hand there. So he could Fisher the Serendip Djinn, of course, after the upkeep. He can just wait. Then, of course, you are taking a risk that maybe, Gilles has a counterspell. He does have a power sink in his deck. There's the pass, so he's going to take the risk. Gilles here losing a forest to the Serendip Djinn. Now remember, Fisher is an instant. Exactly, there's the Fisher. Going to take care of the 5/6. There's the attack for 5. Wow, look at this, going to 2. Damien is so low. There's the Argovian Pixies. It's going to be really difficult for Damien to get back from this. I mean, he's on 2. He can block 1 of the 2 creatures on land. Has to find at least 2 other creatures here or 2 other solutions. He's only on 2. Oh, this is so tricky. Also doesn't play with Fireball, I believe. And okay, there's a Shivan Dragon. Shivan Dragon! But it's not going to be enough. He's only on 2. I mean, I love to see a Shivan Dragon, but it's not going to be enough. Oh, look at this. He's going to tap it down to Shivan with a Winter Blast. The Shivan's getting cold. And then he's going to attack, winning here. Gilles winning game number 3. And by doing that, also winning round number 1 here of the 7-point Singleton tournament in Lyon, France. Oh man, this was a good game. I really enjoyed this game. And the good news is the Singleton games aren't over. We will be back with more Singleton action. And I believe on Tuesday, we will be back with these 2 decks. We've got White Weenie taking on again a black and red deck, also a mid-range deck here. So that's to come next Tuesday. So if you don't want to miss a thing, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, because then you will be notified whenever I put new videos out here on the channel. And also, if you enjoy what you're seeing, please consider becoming a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks for all the information. And if you become a patron of the show, you also get access to the exclusive Discord channel where you can meet all the other patrons and you can have a chat with me about whatever you want. And if you become a $2 or $5 supporter, you can actually play a game of Magic against me. So check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks for all the information.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, pull out the plug and wet him all over, pull out the plug and wet him all over, pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put in the scouts to the husband, son, he'll put in the scouts to the husband, son, he'll put in the scouts to the husband, son, he'll early in the morning. Way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises. Early in the morning.
Igitus, figitus, sumba, kazee.